So there is a problem with the self-help space, and I'm saying this having been in it for nearly 2 years now in terms of actually being active in self-help communities. Now, I would say I started the kind of self-help journey around the end of 2020, kind of midway through the whole COVID times, and I wasn't really active in any communities at that point. It wasn't until the end of 2022 I joined a community, a free Discord server, and then basically all the way through 2023 I was active in that community and still am to this day. It's one of the biggest Discord communities in the world, actually, to be honest. But anyway, the point of this video is about the reality of human nature and what effect self-help has on human nature. Because the problem I've seen, and I've talked to friends about this that are in the self-help space and talked to people that are outside the self-help space, and the reality here is that, and again, I'm talking from kind of the brief experience I have, because as someone that has kind of been in and out of the self-help space, in terms of like, I first went into the kind of financial side of it. I was learning a lot about rich dad poor dad stuff, like the stock market, investing, like compound interest, all this type of stuff, learning about credit cards, how money works, how banks work. That was my intro to the kind of self-help space. And then throughout 2021, I was learning a lot about that. I learned a lot more at the end of 2022 about kind of the business and kind of entrepreneurship side of self-help. And this is specifically where the problem lies. Because the problem I see with the self-help space is that there's a psychological kind of rule in human nature called the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. And it works in two different opposite ways here. So the Pareto principle states that basically 20% of the input is responsible for 80% of the output. So you can see this in terms of like the productivity and efficiency of a team, like a sales team. The top 20 salespeople are responsible for the 80% of sales. In the you can apply it to literally anything in life. There is 20% of input is responsible for 80% of the output. 20% of the there is a small minority of actions or people that have an effect on the overall outcome. Basically people that there are the hardest workers out of a group of people, or the people that are the hardest and the smartest workers. That if there's 100 salespeople, maybe 5, 10, or up to 20 of them are going to be more effective and efficient and productive and more successful than the other 80 or 90. And the other end of this is the fact that there is the large majority of people that are not as successful. There is, it's technically not really the opposite, but it is more just kind of the other side of the 80-20 rule, which is that, yes, you have those hyper-successful inputs or people in teams or whatever it might be, but you have the majority that they are just the average, right? They are the majority. They're the over 50%. Typically, they are anywhere from like 55 to 80%. Basically, it is the majority of people, the majority of the outcome. And you see this in the self-help space. And what I mean by what you see is the so-called successes, the results of what self-help provides. Because in any community, any online service or platform or community or group, you will always have the minority of people that are the hard workers, they're the disciplined people, they put their money where their mouth is, or whatever the reasons or situations might be for those few people. They get the best results from what they invest in. And the majority get average results. So let's take into account things like Andrew Tate's The Real World, formerly Harvard University. Let's take Iman Gadzhi's Digital Launchpad in Educate. Let's take Luke Belmar's Capital Club. Alex Hormozy and Sam Ovens with School.com. They all have the very few hyper successful people. Those that start an online store, those that start a marketing agency, those that start doing trading, whatever it might be. There are those that, regardless of the circumstances, they will have exponentially better results than most people in the service or server, whatever it might be. And then you'll have the majority of people that do average. They get a few sales here, they get a few sales there. Yes, they might replace their income, they might get a job. It's fantastic. But it's only the small percentage of people that have the exponential results. You get, and those are obviously the testimonials and reviews and success stories, right? And you might not consider this a problem. You might not consider this the problem with the self-help space, because ultimately this is just a fact of human nature. It's the 80-20 rule. It's the majority and the minority principle, basically, of the fact that the minority of people are responsible for the majority of the results. And the majority of the people are not putting in as much effort as they could be putting in because of just human nature. Now, the caveat here, and this is where I believe in not necessarily the self-help space and the world of self-help, but this is where I believe that the best entrepreneurs that are investing their time, expertise, and money into helping other people become better entrepreneurs, better leaders, better managers, making more money online. People like Iman Gadzhi, Luke Belmar, Alex Hormozy, even Andrew Tate, people that are creating platforms or services to lower the barrier to entry and make it as easy, simple, and convenient as possible to start making money, start their business as simply as possible, create a personal brand, get attention online, create a following. Those people that make it as simple and easy and convenient as possible are changing the world. They're simply changing the education space. And the problem I see is obviously just the fact that the majority of people don't exponentially improve their lives, right? Most people might just about maybe have a side hustle or maybe replace their income. Like I would say for most people that join a self-help community, they might end up making an extra few $100s a month, which is fantastic nonetheless. If that community didn't exist, they'd probably be spending a few $100s a month pointlessly. Whereas at least now they're working 1 to 2 hours per day or per week and earning a few extra $100s per month. And maybe in the future earn a few $1,000 extra per month. That's the majority. Then you have the kind of second majority, which is like the kind of the bigger minority group out of everybody that maybe replaces their income. Maybe they end up successfully making a couple $1,000s a month drop shipping or freelancing as a video editor or copywriter or whatever it might be. Those are the people that are the smaller majority, but still the majority of the success stories. The people that, they end up maybe changing their life. They replaced their income. They were working minimum wage at a job they didn't like, and now they're a freelance video editor, or they start a marketing agency, or whatever it might be. They still do change their life and do what they want to be doing, but they're not massively, they're not making like 100K a month all of a sudden. Because those people are the small minority. Because the one thing I don't think the self-help space can change are the hyper success stories. Because, in my opinion, the hyper success stories don't need someone to help them make it more easy and more convenient for them. The hyper successful people. Now, I could be wrong in saying this because obviously there are people that, they just needed a different avenue. They needed a different person to say something in a different way to them, what resonated with them in a better way. They needed a different accountability person or something. Sure, there are multiple reasons why someone that could be hyper successful isn't yet, and they just need that right community, that right accountability partner, that right coach, that right course, whatever it might be. And I think there are those few cases, in which case the self-help space is great for them. But I think that for the most part, self-help spaces aren't helpful or aren't essential, more importantly, for those that are already hyper successful. Just look at the Richard Bransons, the Elon Musk, the Bill Gates of the world. Well, not necessarily Bill Gates because he had help, but still, nonetheless, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, these hyper successful entrepreneurial people like Richard Branson, they have mega conglomerate brands, hundreds of businesses. And they simply started because they just took a risk on something. Like Richard Branson didn't have a self-help community. In fact, he's making communities now. He has like a virgin startup. So it really comes down to, in the case of hyper successful people, just your ability to take action on something. Like when you have literally nothing, like you just really badly want to get out of your situation, you really badly want to change your circumstances, you want to take a risk on something because you don't even perceive risk like others do. Whatever it might be that makes you a hyper successful type of person, or someone that is capable of hyper success in terms of like entrepreneurship, building a business, whatever it might be. Those are the types of people that don't need communities. And maybe communities help them in some way, shape, or form in terms of being able to help others, but they don't need it for themselves. And I think that the self-help space in general is overall good for helping people change the baseline. Because again, the majority of people don't have exponential results. They just change their situation a bit. They replace their job, replace their income, get a side hustle. That's the majority of people in self-help spaces. There's a few hundred people here or a few hundred people there, or maybe just a couple of people here, a couple of people there that make hundreds of thousands or millions from a self-help space because they would have done something regardless of the space. So, yeah, food for thought anyway, but that's my opinion on the self-help space. Again, I'm kind of new to this thought process because, again, I've been a member of the self-help space and in different communities for a while. I just wanted to share my thoughts on it, really, but I'd love to know what you think below. If you're in a self-help community online, a money-making community online, which community are you in? Share your thoughts on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what I've had to say and everything. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.